I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. In the beginning, in the intro, when you're talking about June Jordan, and I'd like you to say, obviously, as much as you'd like to about this or anything else, but you mentioned or you refer to the lies that they lied, that there are lies, that there are traditions, and then that there is a tradition of recognizing the lie.
Yes.
That you're talking about in this book. So to the extent you haven't already covered this, say a word or two about what it is you're saying there, and how does June Jordan figure into this tradition of exploding the lies?
Yeah. So I do a kind of play in that chapter on the words lie and life and living. And it comes from June's own words. So the lying part comes out of her essay Black Studies Bringing Back the Person, 1969, written in the heat of the Black student movement at City College. She's saying that these students are tired of the lies and that's why they're doing what they're doing, right? But I think a year earlier, around the same year, she writes what she calls she writes about what she calls life, and she says that what we're really talking about with Black studies is life studies. And so, what does it mean to sustain life? And so, I kind of play around those particular things, but or those ideas. But I think June is at the center of so much of this because as a poet who is connected to this impulse to explode, but also to emerge in a new way. Like there's this renewal and this attempt to, not just an attempt, the ability to reframe by using the poetic that I think allows us, to really clear space, right? Because that's so much what's happening, right? When it comes to Black studies, my students come into the class and now they feel that they have space to expand and think differently and actually engage in ideas without the fear of being marginalized within a particular space or without the fear of being disciplined, right? I think that word discipline is really the word for a reason. People get disciplined when they step outside of the boundaries of academic discipline. And how do you discipline a poet? You really can't. Not a poet that understands the poetic in the way that June Jordan understands what the poetic does. And so I wanted to start there. I wanted to start with an artist, a poet, someone who actually taught Black studies in that way to really clear space for us to consider what comes next in the book. And, the idea of using June Jordan really comes out of me thinking about the fact that she was colleagues in a Black studies program with Tony Cade, who I also talk about in the conclusion, with Addison Gale, with Adrienne Rich, with Audre Lorde, right, and so many others. And it made me imagine, well, what were the conversations like in that moment? And so we have the archives and we have glimpses and we have the articles. And Connor Reed has written a new book called New York Liberation School, where he deals with it, right? But I was just imagining, like, all right, when these artists and these writers get together, what are they thinking about Black studies? Because I know for sure it ain't what we're talking about in Black studies now. And so I wanted to imagine that.